so golden. What you got, you're the golden child. I see forever between you and me, forever between us.
Welcome back to the Black in Real Life podcast. It's your girl Anuli here with a new episode. I'm going to keep it a full buck with you from the very top. This episode will be the longest episode of Black in Real Life to date at slightly over 1 hour. But I promise you that you will love every millisecond of it. Even though this program is produced by a one-person team, i.e., me, the first voice that you hear on each and every episode of the Black in Real Life podcast is not my voice. It's the angelic voice of Garth, the singer whose song Wild is the official theme song of this show. For the first conversation of season 3, a season that is dedicated to exploring the inner worlds and creative works of Black artists of all kinds, I thought that it would be a good time to introduce you to the man behind the voice. Garth is a New York City based singer, producer, and multi instrumentalist with over 4 million streams on Spotify. His latest studio EP, Our Father, is described as being as evocative sonically as it is lyrically, with songs running the full gamut from deep soul grooves to 80s R&B surf rock. Our Father gives Garth the space to be reflective, jubilant, and mournful. After several months of touring across the US last year, Garth spent the winter months crafting his next body of work in partnership with Cale Hawkins, whose credits include Quincy Jones, Linda Perry, and Charlie XCX. After debuting some selections of his new material at the Lincoln Center in April, Garth is now preparing for the full release of his fourth studio project, Coronation, later this year. In this episode of the Black in Real Life podcast, I talked to Garth about our shared history, his musical influences, and the ins and outs of trying to make it as an independent artist. This conversation between us has been a long time coming, and you'll find out why in just a moment. As always, at the end of each interview, I will come back to share a few key takeaways that stood out to me from the conversation. These takeaways will be supplemented with research from both academic and non-academic sources to add further context to the subjects that were brought up in the interview portion. For every episode, I will include citations to the reference materials I mentioned, as well as some additional background reading for you on the Black in Real Life website. Visit www.blkirl.com to nerd out. Okay, now without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Garth, period. Thank you, Garth, for joining me here in Black in Real Life. And listeners, they may recognize your voice as the official theme song for the podcast from your song Wild.
Yeah.
And I did want to start, Garth, if it's okay. I wanted to start by sharing a few fun facts about us,
Yes. Let the
two of
people
us.
know.
Let the people know. So Garth and I have some history.
We do.
We've been in each other's orbit since middle school, and we
Mhm.
even share the same birthday, August
Mhm.
26th, Virgo, stand up.
Yes.
But, and this is the part, Garth, you might laugh at the accuracy, but this is very much likely, probably actually the first time we sat down like Whitney and Barbara for a true like one-on-one in-depth conversation.
Yeah.
And it's my
I think,
great pleasure to host it.
thank you. Yes, yeah, we have really been in the same, in each other's orbit, as you said, since 2001.
Ooh, put a year on it.
We were in sixth grade. We met in sixth grade, and I'll never forget it because your name was usually always called first. And I just remember in one of the first weeks or months of middle school, because I had just moved to our area, so I didn't know anybody. A lot of the things, they're cemented in my memory. I know that your name is not pronounced this way, but Anuli, that's always.
Every time they mess
I
it
know,
up.
I know. And so I came to learn that, over the course of the however long, 7 years that we went to school together. It's just, yeah, it is so funny. And yeah, and us sharing a birthday. More fun facts, when we were in high school and I was in my, web series era, you were doing background, you know, uh I still remember the specific scene and the specific episode where you and like Kristen and not Farzine.
You're unlocking a memory for me right now,
I'm
so I'm
telling you,
eager to hear this.
we're in the band hallway and it's an episode where Carissa is like freaking out. She's having this whole internet relationship. And y'all were walking in the background because that's what was
You
required
need
and that's what
background.
we did. And you showed up and you've been showing up ever since then.
Thank
And I'm
you.
grateful for you. And I'm grateful to have this conversation because we have such a similar life experience, but we never really have
We
sat down
chopped it
like
up.
life
Yeah.
experience. But you don't really have to do that when you meet when you're 11 because like your lives are just like doing whatever. And then we got to see each other
Yeah.
as adults as well, which was beautiful. And now I'm just a stan at everything that you're doing. Honestly, your entire bloodline. You know how all the Akinebus, they're the Knowles of North Laurel. They're the Knowles of Howard County.
That's funny because like last week was my mom's birthday, and I did make that comparison to my mom. I was like, "Mom, you're like
You're
Tina
the Tina
Knowles,
Knowles. Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
Beyonce Solange."
Yeah. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about it. So
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And you definitely unlocked the memory with that web series thing. I'm like, "Oh wow,
yeah.
okay."
Yeah. Because even that was like 20 years ago.
Well, thank you for
No, it
that.
wasn't that long. It wasn't that long. It was
I
like
mean,
16 years ago.
we're about to. No, you know what? I like to keep a mystery with my
Yeah,
age.
actually, we're 16 right now. We met in high school, but that was last semester.
Yeah, we just like teleported. We have some type of
Right.
time travel.
I
You
was
know
never
what?
born. I just
I was
popped out
never
and I
born.
was in the know, to quote New
I
York.
feel like that often, actually.
Yeah.
I do feel like that. My mom was always said it like, I think you were here before, and I was like, I think so. I think
Yeah.
so too. I didn't actually know that in sixth grade you had just moved here because sixth grade is when people come from different elementary schools. So I just thought you
Right.
were with like the other kids. So where do
Right.
you actually call home?
Yeah. So I mean, I call Laurel home now. I spent most of I call New York home now, but when I was growing up, we lived in Laurel, but we moved. Well, I was born in Massachusetts. We came to Laurel when I was about 2 years old, and we were first in PG County, and then we were in Anne Arundel County,
Hmm.
and then we moved to Howard County. So my elementary school experience was in Odin. I went to elementary school in Odenton at
Mhm.
like this Christian school that, if it burned down, it would be totally fine. My family was very aware of the trauma that I experienced at that school. And there were people that we both went to school with who also ended up at our middle school. But anyway, but yeah, we moved to to the Howard County side of Laurel, and that's where I was until we went to college. And then I, moved to New York right after college, literally like 6 weeks after graduation.
Oh
And
wow.
been here since then.
Did you have plans in New York, or you're just like, I want to move to the big city?
The big right. Well, I think by the time we went to college, I did have an intention to move to New York. The reasoning behind moving to New York shifted throughout my time in school because that's when I started kind of singing more publicly, or I was in music groups and bands and things like that, which that was not really my thing when we were growing up together.
Mhm.
Band was, like being in like orchestra and band
Yes,
and
I
doing
remember
those things.
that.
That was a huge part of my childhood, but the singing part wasn't really the most forward facing thing until I went to college because I was fed up looking at everybody sing and being like, I could sing. When I went to college, I kind of was trying to honor that passion of mine a little bit more. And one thing led to another. And then I ended up in this band, and the band was really the final turning point of, saying like, okay, this, our intention is to be a professional group, and we are going to set up our lives in New York City and try to do everything that we can.
I started seeing you perform with a band, and I'll be honest with you, because I knew about like you being in orchestra like back in high school and stuff. I was like, he can sing. I had
Right.
no clue. How do you go from like, I think I can like carry a tune, or I think I can
Yeah.
sing, to like, now I'm in a band, and then now we want to make this like our profession? How do you evolve to that?
Yeah, it took a long time. I'm about to give you the real, and you can kind of chop this up
Oh
however.
no, we're keeping all of it. So you
But
bring the tea.
I'm gonna give you and your listeners the real. It was really difficult growing up. I always loved to sing, and I would sing at home. I'm an only child, and I had to entertain myself. You know, my parents are West Indian. It's not that they're not loving, but they have things to do, and I have things to do, and you're just going about
Yeah.
your business. And they always were really supportive of all of the different things that I wanted to do. So if I wanted to play piano, they're like, okay, here are your lessons. Or I wanted to switch to flute, I wanted to do band, I wanted to do whatever we were doing. In our highly overscheduled, overstimulated network
Mm-hmm.
of people, they were about it. But when I would do little singing things, like if I did any of our like middle school plays, um, they were supportive, but I always felt like I was getting compared to some of my other friends who were on the forefront of the performances, of the singing and the acting. And we all know, Matt Hill, that
Mm-hmm.
was one of my best friends. We're still really
Yes.
good friends. And so even you could understand, like, Matt Hill was Matt Hill, right?
It
Like,
was that guy. It's
was
true.
that guy. And I used to be able to be like the friend. I could be funny, but if it was time to really
Oh,
sing,
not you, the black psychic.
well,
Oh,
but that's not how it really
I
came.
know, but that's just the way you kind of
Right.
presented it right there.
Yeah, but he was really passionate about what he did, which I respect. And I think he was really vocal about really going for it. And I just didn't have that same confidence
Mm.
at the time. So there were things that I knew I could do at home vocally that just, the fear really does stifle you, and it really does kind of lock you up with what you're able to do. And I feel like, sorry mama, but she'd be like, yeah, you did a good job, but Matt Hill really, like,
Wow.
and
And
I
that will
have,
do it to you.
it never left me. And so, by the time we were in high school, I really wasn't enthused about, like, because your voice is different from playing an instrument, which you learn. Like, anybody can learn to play an instrument. You might have a varying degree of success, and I guess anybody can learn to sing. But when it's your voice, it's like you kind of even can't. You can develop your voice and manipulate your voice, but it's just what you are. So
Yeah.
I struggled a long time to find it for
Mm.
myself, and by the time I went to college, or our senior year of high school, Carissa actually encouraged me to go out for the spring musical. I did that, and because I was just tired of being like, I really wish I could feel confident enough to show up in these spaces, and I just didn't. But this was kind of my last chance to do it. And so we were already seniors. I think my sense of self was more grounded because, whatever identity you have to create for yourself when you're in high school, and your social dynamic is all that you really have at that time. Like, I felt secure about it by then.
Mm.
I was doing things that nobody else was really doing. Like, nobody else was really like filming a show around
Yes.
so it's kind of like, I don't need to be in front of the people, because like what I'm doing, like, the cast of this show is already telling me that they're going to the mall and being recognized. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm in my Tyler Perry era. Like,
Not your Tyler
I
Perry.
know that's so
Are you writing all the scripts by yourself?
no, I was writing them with Russell, but
Okay.
we were writing all of the scripts and shooting it and editing it and, playing in Photoshop and doing promos or whatever. We were trying to, I've always been very serious about the things I do and trying to do them at the highest level that I can do. But anyway, By the time I got to college, I was doing an orchestra audition and I had time to, I had seen some of the a cappella groups on campus a couple of days before, and I was like, well, try to do a little thing. So I got into one of the a cappella groups. It was a great group that led me later to a professional a cappella group on Martha's Vineyard, where we were rehearsing for 6 hours a day for the first 2 weeks, and you're doing 5 shows a week. Like there was a boot camp there, and I was 19 by the time I got there.
Wow.
I was the youngest member of the group. The oldest person was 25, and I learned a lot. I think vocally there was a lot of development there, and by the time I went back, I did that for 2 summers, but by the time I went back to school, another member of that group in my home group at Wesleyan, he was more involved in the music scene, the live music scene at Wesleyan, and asked me to do some singing at a frat show that actually that weekend some of my friends from Reservoir were visiting. So I feel like Russell was there, and like Christina Hahn was there, Linda was
Reservoirs are high school, by the way.
Yes, we went to Reservoir High School in Fulton, Maryland. So yeah, so actually my first live show, I still had like my Laurel people, they saw it. And so over the course of being in college, it just got more and more serious. And then by the beginning of my senior year, I was asked, what do you think about, you know, doing this for real, putting together a group and doing music professionally? Because my journey was to enter TV writing. I wanted to work on
Mm,
30 Rock. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't finna work with Tina Fey, develop television.
I can see that for you though.
That was where that was my focus. And so the singing thing, it's like, yes, I loved it, but like to do it as a profession was not in my mind. But things, I had 2.5 years or 3 years in college where it was like, oh, okay, people are really responding to this. And my own personal baggage, my own sense of self of like all of the things I shut myself out of when we were kids, it's kind of like, well, now is the time to unleash and
Mm.
not hold yourself back. So I was like, okay, let's go for it. And so, I was in that band whose name I do not speak because y'all not getting free promo from me.
Her.
Per. But it was, for better or worse, it taught me a lot about, I learned so much about performing and songwriting and marketing
Mm.
and creative direction, because the group had no real creative direction. You're just kind of six dudes trying to put something together. And so, I had a bow tie era. There were, you're trying a lot of different things,
Yes.
and you're trying to make a lot of different things work for six individual people. And so that can go a lot of different ways. But in the end, it set me up to meet other incredible musicians, to expand what my the possibilities of my music life could be. And it affirmed for me that maybe I should be here.
Mm.
Maybe I should be creating and making music. And when I had the opportunity to create my own solo project where I was wholly responsible for its direction, for its vision, for its sound, I took that moment very seriously. And it's been now like over 10 years, right? Like it's been almost 15
Yes.
years
Yes.
since I've started like really singing and going on that journey. So now I'm here. So, like once you let me in the door, it's like, oh, well, if I'm gonna be
Mm.
here, then like y'all need to move aside and we gotta do this, and I gotta get this, and this costume has to look like this, and this song has to sound like this, and this vocal needs to be like that, like Virgo. You just Virgo out.
Well, let's talk about your creative process because I do want to like unpack all
Mm-hmm.
of these elements. What I love about your music is feel the Virgo in it. I was listening to your Our Father EP this morning as
Mm-hmm.
like a full project in itself. And what I was thinking about is like, how do you go about creating a world through sound? And could you
Mm.
use Our Father as an example of describing your creative process?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And thank you for listening, by the way, and thank you for supporting. And Our Father was a unique creative process in that we had started, myself and my live band had started to develop some songs at the end of 2019. I think of myself now because I spent so many years um, doing filmed video content and trying to
Mhm.
promote it in a certain way. So I kind of apply the same concepts to myself as the product. I had done an EP called Melt in 2019, but already my brain is thinking, what's the next project. If you consider it like a TV show, like, well, what does that look like? What does that sound like? What, and literally
I
what
do
did,
that with Black in Real Life. I think of it as a TV show. That's funny.
because we're right here.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we had started to put together some material, and members of my band had wanted to do that project as a collective, which is sort of a departure from how I have worked past, whether I work with a small team of songwriters or just one producer and songwriter, or I've done it a lot of different ways. So this time around, we had started to develop some material, and then we got locked down. And because it was going to be just a short, maybe kind of 4-song project that would have been like the answer, not necessarily the answer to my previous EP, but because we got locked down, I decided to expand what the project could be, and we kind of instituted a round robin, or like a symposium. I don't know what to call it, but we had everyone in the band develop some sort of short musical idea, and we had Dropbox folders. Then we would meet at the end of the week to review the ideas, to kind of discuss where they could go. And I would say, okay, I'm feeling this sound. I can see this nugget developing, or I already have an idea melodically or lyrically for this sound. And we did that for 6 weeks, I think. So we started this in April of 2020 to, again, just I felt we needed something to focus our energy on while we were indefinitely trying to figure out what was going on in the world. We had shows that were canceled. If no one was in a rush, and I wasn't going to just rush to put out a project that I couldn't support with performances, then I figured let's take the time to create that way. So that's what we did until, more songs developed from that work. And then by the we were there was like a window by maybe June or July of 2020 where the cases were going down, and people were feeling a little bit better about at least understanding quarantining and masks. So people either went into remote studios to record the parts. We were kind of all self-producing, and I'm telling you, Zoom and uh, Dropbox and all the technologies that allow people to really connect. We just leveraged every single one until people were able to kind of record certain things in their own time. And then I had a smaller group of like the guitars and the bass meet at a studio in Massachusetts, where my friend owns this beautiful studio that's converted from a church. And we were able to work there and kind of record a few things live in person. And then I recorded my vocals separately as well. And then I worked with my friend who's in the UK, Rue, shout out to Rue, um, to kind of do a final pass of production. So like the band kind of already knew what in terms of like the songwriting and the initial production, it gets things to a certain point, right? And everybody is bringing the best of themselves and their expertise in their own instruments to whatever the song is happening. For me, like, I love to hear real instruments, live instruments, and I love to mix them with modern production. So I love to hear guitars, and I had 2 guitar players at the time. So they're kind of coming up with things that flow and interweave with each other. Or I might say, can you do something like or whatever? And then they'll like do that, and I'll be like, yes, that's what, but I'm always telling them, like, can you do it harder? Can it be grittier? Can it be edgier? Like, I I I love all styles of music, but you'll often catch me saying, like, I'm not here to whisper on the microphone and be quiet. Even when things are like subdued, it's kind of like the music for me is really cathartic. So I gotta feel it somewhere. If it's not coming from here, I gotta feel it in the guitar. I gotta feel it in the drums.
Did you grow up in the church? Because your music sometimes does have like a gospel. Your voice actually has like a gospel quality to it.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, we were there every Sunday for sure. Yes. And the church that I grew up in had really renowned musicians as who are a part of it. Kim Jordan is a really, renowned keys player from the DC area, and she does gigs with a lot. She's done gigs with a lot of different people, but she, I saw her every Sunday, and what I saw and the sound I heard every Sunday, that also has never left me, because I mean, it's so foundational to so much R&B. Like, you really can't like unlink the history of modern R&B or soul from, you know, a lot of gospel music and rock and
The
roll.
EP is called Our Father, after all, too. It makes me think
Well,
church.
oop. Uh, yeah. So, yeah, that's definitely an element of it. You gotta, it needs to have rhythm, something a little left of center as well, to kind of be like, oh, what's going on over there? But ultimately, like, my voice sounds how it sounds. Like, because I didn't grow up singing in church, it's not like I was like some church vocalist, getting applause for singing like a Fred Hammond song or something.
Right,
But
yeah.
I'm familiar with the music and I heard it all the time. And, it is the foundation of like what I like to hear. And then you can recognize it when you see, you know, modern day Black artists, and they might be appearing on the Grammys, and you might hear a certain full band lick, or some sort of full band
Yeah.
instrumentation. It's like, that's church. Like, ultimately, it's also black.
Yes.
It's black.
It's
uh,
black
it's
in real
black
life.
it's black in real life. And so, yeah, all of my decisions come from that place, but not because I was ever like, oh, I have heard every Prince song ever, or oh, I'm so familiar, like I'm so locked in with, the history of, soul or whatever. It's just, I'm black, and this is the music that was around me in my real life, outside of course, our experience where we grew up, which is a very diverse place, and
Mhm.
somewhat majority white, and it was Y2K. So yeah, we're hearing Britney Spears, we're hearing 18s. Don't even get me started on that.
Mm.
And you might love that, and that might be nostalgic, but what's the music that I'm gonna make that fits me, if I'm at the center of it? And
Yeah, where else is your inspiration derived from as an artist?
it comes in waves. Because I love to collaborate with different musicians. I love to channel their varied musical backgrounds into kind of a sound that I'm shaping. So it kind of always turns into something new. But for me, yeah, I love Beyonce. I mean, stop
Yes.
letting me. Like,
I'm seeing her in August here in Atlanta.
so you made it. I got a Toronto ticket.
Okay. Okay.
I had to cross the border because I didn't make it into any Citibank pre-sale moment. And I
Mm.
feel like Blue must have really, I don't know if she forgot to text me my
Blame
credentials.
Rock Nation. I blame Rock Nation for everything.
Honestly, I see that. I see that. But Rock Nation, is not too late to make it right. But I will be I will be going. But yeah, I think her artistry, what she has shown, I don't even have to say it, but what she has shown from every angle of a production is
Yes.
incredible. What Jasmine Sullivan does.
Yes.
What she does on a microphone in a studio with a pen and paper, with lyrics, with arrangements, with done. I just, yeah. So those two for sure. I love Solange. I've been able to see Solange twice. I credit my
Mm.
cousin for putting me on. I mean, we all saw Solange when we were, watching Proud Family, but I was able to, right after the True EP, my cousin took me to see Solange at Irving Plaza,
Oh,
and
cool.
so that would have been like 2013. So this
Yes.
was, a long time ago, and I saw that show and I was like, okay.
Yes.
And I heard some of that music. I was like, okay, especially at the time, that indie time, but the way she was taking indie influences and making it black, I was like, ah. And Solange has been known to play with the genre for a long time, and we just remained asleep. And that was wrong.
True.
And
It's
that was
true.
wrong. That was wrong of me. I'm so sorry, Solange.
I have to
So,
tell the people that you have also played at Urban Plaza.
oh yeah, I
Like, just
have.
it flex, like just a
I
little
have.
flex. Like you went from watching to now like being on stage.
That's true. I have performed at Irving Plaza. Yeah, I have done some things at this point that I'm so proud of, and it's so easy to, you get so locked into like, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, that it's sad, but you don't want to rob yourself of the joy of the moment. So I'm trying to
Mm.
work on that and get better at that. But yeah, those folks for sure, and any historically black music, I think it's always had an influence on me, even if I wasn't kind of steeped in it. I mean, I
Mm.
love the concept of Prince, I love. And I feel like he shows up in the things that I do in a way that people would expect, that maybe I know so much more of his catalog than I do.
Mm.
I don't. But what I do know about him, like the stage show, I think, there are things vocally that, of course, it's kind of like, okay, I vibe with you on this. I think, again, the writing was spectacular, but I just think the stage show is something that people don't do anymore. The attention to that kind of performance, I think it's not a dying art form, because people definitely do it. But I would say male R&B singers are not doing it.
No, not as
Female,
much.
no, female R&B singers are always going to be held at a higher standard and always are going to deliver more, because patriarchy and because
Right.
of everything.
You are very dynamic on stage. I've seen you perform live. And actually, the show that I did see you, there's definitely a really strong Prince theme with like your parents, that you're wearing a blouse. I remember a blouse on
Yeah,
stage.
right. Yes.
But
Yes.
my question to you then is, who are you on stage? Like, is
Mm.
it Garth, or is there like some type of Sasha Fierce alter ego? Like, who are you?
Right. That's a good question. I do think it's me. I do think it's me. Sometimes I joke, right? Because when I came out with my solo stuff, I had to get a website. You have to get handles and things like that, because that's just the generation we're in. And people used to joke with me, like, and call me Garth Official, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had to make everything Garth Official, because Garth Taylor was taken by this white South
Oh.
African man he's a singer in South Africa, and a fairly well-known singer in South Africa. So I could not be that. So that's why we were like, okay, Garth, period. It's just Garth, and I'll make all the handles Garth Official, because someone wanted like $15,000 to have garthtaylor.com. So I was like, absolutely not. So I think there is a difference between Garth Taylor and Garth Official.
Garth Taylor being his actual government name, by the way,
That's my
not the
government
South
name.
African singer.
Right. There is a slight difference, but I think Garth, period, it's just kind of, it's a permission that I've given myself that took years to give,
Mm-hmm.
personified, in a public space. So I've always, with my friends or people I'm close to, I've always been silly, like I've you saw me do the Oprah thing in middle school, like
Mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm.
always been true, right? Like it's
Yes.
been foolishness for sure. But now that I'm singing, and the songs I sing are like, well, some of the stuff on the new album is like, it is a little silly, but my music overall is fairly serious, and the show is like, it's supposed to be,
It's a show.
it's a
Yeah.
real show, right? So I think it's fun for me to be able to like really sing, and really focus on like the technical singing, and the performance, and then also be a fool, because that's also, all of those things are a part of me. And if I'm going to be on stage, I'm not going to be wearing jeans and a t-shirt.
Mm-mm.
That's not what the ancestors were doing. That's not what the
Yeah.
top was doing. And I would say Bruno Mars does his thing. Shout out to Bruno and Silk Sonic, and their silk
Yeah.
and their bobs and their mushroom cut, as like, as parody as it could come across, because Bruno will choose an era for every album and just
Yes, it's
go
true.
off. But
Yeah.
but the one thing I will give him is like, well, not the one thing, but what you have to give him is like, the technical ability is there. It's grounded in like the real high performance of the time, and he executes it as well as anybody from that time.
Mhm.
And I think that is my aspiration as well. It's kind of like, I see the best performers. You see the Michael Jacksons and the Princes and the Morse Day and the Times, and that era of live music, or these days the Bruno Marses, just like real showmanship. And that's what I want to plug into. And there's even more that I want to try and do, but one thing at a time, because we tired.
Mm. Well, I do want to talk about that, but before I get to that, I'm just curious, how do you feel about Garth Brooks? Because when you search Garth,
Right.
this man comes up. You can be
This
hard to find sometimes.
Since I was a child, this was always a problem, because I remember people singing Achy Breaky Heart to me when I was in preschool. Like,
Mm.
but we were always having that conversation. I've always been having the Garth Brooks conversation. Honestly, as far as country people go, I hear he's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
So like, he's still like he's with Trisha Yearwood. They've been together a long time. Shout out to him. He ain't never bothered nobody. So I kind of I'm kind of
He
down
just
for him.
taking all the SEO.
He is taking all the SEO, but to be fair, he was here first.
This
However,
is true.
if the moment comes, I say let's have a Garth moment, a dual Garth moment. Let me slide into
Ooh.
somebody's country song, and it will be Garth Brooks
Oh,
and
like him and
Garth.
Nelly. Was that him and Nelly? Or was that Tim McGraw? Remember when they had the album
That was Tim
Sweatsuit?
McGraw.
That was with Tim
I think that
McGraw.
was Tim McGraw.
My
No,
bad, Garth.
that's but because he's been so unproblematic for so long, it would be kind of like my goals have always been like, let me ascend to the greatest heights I can and then force a collaboration with Garth Brooks because I think that would just be hilarious. And actually, it might be kind of good.
I think it would be. I
It
think
might
it
be
would
kind of
be.
good. It
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
kind of good. Yeah. So
But
I'm not mad. But yeah, I have to. Well, the Garth period, the Garth official, that's all part of the SEO conversation too. If you
mm,
want to know about it, because I'm like, search Garth with a period, and then you'll find me. And then they're like, oh,
yes. Well, back to black, as in black, back to you. Let's talk more about your, yes, exactly. Let's talk more about your marketing visuals and creative directions. Like, I've always found them to look very like luxe, lush, like you're given high production value, but I know that you're not necessarily working with that major financial backing or that major like label support. So as an independent artist, how do you go about executing your vision when you may not always have the resources you need?
oh, Anuli is hard.
Mm,
It's hard. It's so hard. Thank you for appreciating the packaging, which I know you know so much about. You are learned at this point. You are a scholar
thank you.
of these things, and so I really do appreciate it. But um, so when I started to launch my solo project, I knew it was important for me to have some sort of aesthetic. So I worked with a small group of people to say, okay, if we're going to announce an album, it's got to have a little photo shoot. If you're going to do a photo shoot, let's put together something that looks not regular because we're
Mm,
competing with the doom scrolling of our time in terms of getting your message out there. So you kind of have to say within reason, it's like I'm not going to do something that's like completely out the box in terms of like why he violent, like is he
mm,
doing this?
mhm,
But yeah, it kind of from that first project, there were even like photo shoots that I did that never came out because the album changed even before it was released. And so I kind of scrapped some things as well. But I think, the once I knew that that first project was called Human Nature, I got some things together with Serja. His name is Serja. He does like a lot of theatrical dramaturgy and directing in the theater space. And
mm,
I had done like a random like kind of theater adjacent thing with him some months before. And so we worked together to go to like the Bronx Botanical Gardens and just shoot around.
mm,
I had two like shirts and I just put them on. And that's where the album cover came from. It's actually an iPhone
mm.
picture, but we had a real camera there too. But that the shot was just the shot. And then you go into, and I'm handy with Photoshop. So I was
You gotta
photoshopping
be.
phone covers as well, my promotional materials and things like that. And I think after that first experience, you just continue iterating on that process and you realize, okay, if you're going to have a release, there needs to be a costume plan, there needs to be a backdrop plan, like a surrounding plan, and because I'm so rooted in the music, I have a sense of how those can be in conversation with each other. Long story short is like I liked for those things to be in conversation with each other. And because I grew up doing so many, with video production being such a passion of mine, that was an opportunity for me to leverage that and put myself in front of the camera, but create something dynamic visually. For you, I mean, you were on the set of my first music video too. We got to tell everyone.
Yes.
Like that's crazy.
Wow, this true is the history.
This is really the history. You were on the set. You helped me look right with some makeup because I was like, well,
Oh yeah, he was like makeup. I did the dancers makeup as well.
yes, right. And I said, y'all not gonna have me out here looking crazy in 4K. That's not gonna happen. But
Hmm.
you were on the set of that first music video where my friend Ben, who now works for Jon Stewart's show on Apple TV Plus, but we
Oh
met
wow.
in college and we were living in the same dorm freshman year. And so that was that. I booked that space in Astoria, which was like a couple
Yeah.
away from where I was living for 8 hours. The two dancers were also friends of mine from Wesleyan who I had seen dance at Wesleyan and had always been like, he's gonna dance.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you create a vibe. We had looks that we went to Zara and Forever 21 to get, and we had 8 hours and an idea, and that's that.
And it's
And
self-funded. Like this is your own.
yeah, yeah. And people worked for nothing. And that's
Mm.
another major thing. Like, I'm so grateful for the people who have taken their time and energy to support the vision that I have, because I cannot always provide, not to get all, don't put me in the same box as Todrick Hall, because I do paying people. Sorry, Todrick. But, you know, it's like having a startup.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like having a startup. And so when we were first
Listen, I
starting,
got a theme song out of it, so the barter worked for me.
right, I mean, like, the song was already done. Like, what not
Sounds
use it? Yeah, like, but yeah, it's like having a startup. So you really, you have to build a community that you trust, that also trusts where you're going, and you have to honor them in whatever way you are able to honor them. And the hope and the goal for me, and what I have tried to do is, as I try to level up, I try for those experiences to level up as well, so that we're always building and reaching for something greater, and people feel like they're a part of something that is greater, and everyone can, have a piece of what that will be. I went back to work full time. That's another major thing that I must share with your
I was
listeners.
going to ask you that next, actually. So please continue.
Yes, I work full time. I'm a full HR professional and international payroll, immigration, onboarding and offboarding, systems management, corporate thought.
Those are some
Okay.
big words for Elmo.
Right. Yeah, so, you know, I work, and we live in, well, I live in New York City. You've lived here, so you understand what
Past
it,
tense. Praise God,
right,
past tense.
right. You escaped. But it was very bleak in the early days of me being in New York. By the time I was doing my solo stuff, it was kind of getting better, because I knew I had to go back to work, um, just to be able to support myself. And those student loans were piling up.
Mm-hmm.
So we needed to right the ship. And so, yeah, I've been able to invest in that. I've had people invest in me, including people that we went to high school with, who were like, I
Wow,
want to help you. That has also
that's
happened.
real.
Yeah, but it has been independent, and it's been for the grace of people believing in me, bringing themselves and their talents to the table, trying to honor that as best. It doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that things don't fall through the cracks, because I'm just truly just one person trying
Mm-hmm.
to make everything happen that I can make happen. But I am really intent about where I'm going, and
Mm-hmm.
what this is, and that it's right. I can't stop. I might have to shift how I do things, or you might have to take time. Thank God I don't tell people about projects until they're done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I never feel too much pressure to be like, oh, it has to happen like this, and then things fall apart, and then you're kind of in a tailspin. I'm in a tailspin for other reasons, but it's because there's shows to book travel for, and just, like, I'm doing
Yeah.
all of it as well. So it doesn't stop. And so there is a sacrifice there. But when you reflect on the growth of where you've been, and it's only been 5 years for me, because that first project came out in 2018. Now I'm looking at my next studio project and a show at Lincoln Center, and the
Yes.
audiences are getting larger and more impactful, and the show at Lincoln Center is all original music, and like the catalog is getting longer. It's just it's a blessing, but it is it's a lot of juggling, and you have to balance your creative mind and ambitions with your actual resources.
What do your parents think about you now? Like, are they still comparing you to Matt Hill?
No, they don't still compare me to Matt Hill. And I have to shout out Matt Hill, because he literally became an opera singer. And
Did he really? I
yes,
had no clue.
absolutely. Oh, yes. He became
Wow.
an opera singer. Well,
Shout out to you, Matt.
he studied opera, and now he and his wife, they're both in like, I think he is in the army, perform like, the army, the armed services of the United States have performing groups, and they're really
Got
good
you.
jobs to get as a musician. Like, if you join like the Navy band or something like that, like, you
Mm.
get all of the benefits of being in the armed forces, without having to be on the front lines of war. Like it's a very stable musical job to get, and he and his wife both do that, and they also have like another kind of touring group that they do independently of their, you know, their performances in their, I think she's Navy and he's Army, but so shout out to him. No, they're not comparing me to Matt Hill anymore. There's still some comparison. I will say that, you know, there are I've received unsolicited feedback.
Okay.
I'm excited for them to see this show. It's been a long time since they've seen me perform,
Mm.
and they're coming to the Lincoln Center show that's coming up, and you know, it'll be an opportunity for them to update their point of view. But they also had their own journey of being like, you weren't really singing like that before, you know. So I
Gotcha.
know that they're kind of like they're proud of me in their own ethnic
Oh, they'll
way.
probably tell everybody else how much they're
Right.
proud of you before they tell you.
Right. Yeah, because
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I will say the feedback that I get is my mom will hear something on the radio and then she'll call me and tell me, "Have you heard this?" Or she'll be watching Grammys, she'll be watching some sort of
Mm.
thing, and then she'll call me and say, "You sing better than that."
Aha, there you go.
And I was like,
That's
"Oh,
her way.
that's her way. That's her way. That's her way." She's not doing like the, "Oh my gosh, you're doing such a great." That's not her. She'll be like, "You sing better than this person." So
Yeah.
I have to take that.
When do you feel most like yourself?
When do I feel most like myself? I feel like myself right now when I get to share about the work that I've done. And I mean, this is really, I'm so passionate about this. Like it has become my most of my life.
Hmm.
But you know, I love to cut up at like a house party, or just like we're all getting together to watch something, you know, to watch garbage. You're familiar with my background
The
and
HBIC, yes.
yeah, you know what it is. That's what I mean. Like anytime I'm in a space where it's like, let's watch trash, let's watch Flavor of Love, let's watch I Love New York and eat, and you know, and be stupid. That is honestly when I feel the most like
Mm.
myself. Thankfully, I also have a lot of friends who are in like the comedy world, and I don't see a lot of concerts. I have a lot of friends who performs, so I do see their performances, but I don't
Hmm.
myself. I'm not usually like seeing a lot of concerts all the time, but I love to see comedy. It's like
Mm.
it's the last thing I think on my like secret bucket list of like, oh, when I was growing up I really wanted to sing and now I sing, or oh, I wanted to like make videos and now do that or whatever. But like just watching people do really great comedy, I love to laugh. So
Mm.
I think that's when I feel the most like myself. And with my son who's here whining, my son being a dog.
I was going to clarify the son is an animal, 4 legs. Oh, let me not assume. Let me not be ableist and assume your dog has 4 legs.
He does have 4 legs.
Okay. Oh, it's beautiful too. Look at that little butterscotch colored dog.
Real.
What's the breed? Because I know somebody's going to be wondering what breed dog we're looking at right here.
He's a mini golden doodle. You can follow him at It's Jojo the THEE dog. He's
Mm.
the Beyonce of dogs. He's light
Yeah,
skinned.
golden and everything.
Yeah, he's light skinned, but he is black.
Yes. You know, I had this conversation with someone the other day, and a black person has like a pet. That pet is black too.
That
Like
the
this is a
he,
black home
yes, he's West Indian.
specifically.
Like he's not even just black. He loves oxtail and rice and peas. I don't feed him oxtail and rice and peas. That would be crazy. But
That probably hurt him.
yeah, he's ethnic for sure. Sometimes he does act more. Some of the colonizer in our bloodline comes out,
Mm,
and he gets a little familiar, and I have to
okay.
remind him, you know, this
Who he
is
is.
who he is, right? And
Yes.
where we're going and what you can do in the street and what you can't, you know, because you just can't do anything in the street. But yeah, you know, I love it. Anyway,
Garth, what does freedom mean to you?
freedom means, ooh, for me, I think it's just really being able to create in your most authentic way. I feel while I might not always have the resources I would like, or, you know, while it might be a challenge to kind of put together the kinds of performances that you want, that you're kind of um, forecasting for yourself, I'm so grateful that I have the freedom to make what I want when
Mhm.
I want, in the time, you know, in the timing that I want. You know, it can sound how I don't answer to anybody. I work with people, but I don't answer to anybody. I'm absolutely open to working with labels and things like that. You know, I'm in that space right now since I've just finished an album to see if anyone wants to partner in being strategic with the release of the music. But that model looks so different than it used to 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So the freedom for me is like, you know, first of all, these masters are mine.
Mm. Wow,
And
that's big.
yes, secondly, you know, I'm a songwriter on these songs. You know, people need to think about just go look at Candy Burris do any kind of interview, all right, and just understand. Or Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey will,
Mariah,
okay.
underrated songwriter.
We need to. That's a depth. That bring me back for the Mariah Carey episode. We can have a conversation, but you've got to make sure. I mean, I don't need to write all of my songs. People have presented me songs that I've done in the past that, you know, like if I hear something and it's good and I can put my spin on it and I can do my vocal production and I can bring myself to it, like great collaboration. I don't feel the need to have written everything, but for the majority of the music I have made, I'm a part of the writing process because I think it could be it's good to, you know, have control of the things coming out of your mouth, which in the
Mhm.
old group moment that I was in, you know, wasn't always the case. And it didn't really bother me at the time, but it is something that I'm appreciative of now. So that is also freedom to me. So it's kind of like no one puts words in my mouth either. You
Mm.
know, I say what I want to say, how I want to say it, in the octave I want to say it in.
Do you think that it's possible to be truly healthy and whole under the conditions of the world that we live
No, huh?
in?
No. No. Um, Let me say another thing. I have recently begun a mental health journey with a
Mm.
licensed professional.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I want Black people to hear this part. I want Black men to hear this part. Our existence is traumatic. We are existing in a traumatic world that really is not built to support us.
Hmm.
And so any resource that exists that helps you navigate that more effectively, you know, we're the most stimulated generation of beings on earth. We are, you know, we're dealing with stimuli coming at us from all sides. The costs of living is going up, wages are not, you know, it's just
Hmm.
the cost of school. They told us go to school, we went to school, now you got $100,000 worth of student loans and they're trying to give you 35K in New York
That's
City.
literally, it's literally academia. That's literally academia. You do like 6 years, 5 years, however many years of a PhD program, and then they tell you, oh, there's no jobs. And they tell you if you do get a job, it's either like a postdoc and they pay maybe like 15K
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
like a glorified internship, or it's a entry level and it's probably like 40, 50K, which is not a lot. So when they ask me,
Right.
am I going to teach? That's a no. Academia cannot afford me.
That's the energy. Like I love when we can find ourselves with that energy versus crushing ourselves under the weight of the expectation of like, well, I did this PhD program, so now I have to do this. And I, you know, like however you can make it, make it. If that means
Mhm.
showing a little feet on OnlyFans, do that because you have feet. And if people want to see them and you don't care, you better get your extra 20K, you know, do whatever you need to do that's not harming anybody else to survive because it's not getting easier to survive. It's not. It feels like it's
That's
getting
true.
harder. um you know, there are things that are happening in society that are that I'm hopeful about, but we have also in our lifetimes, you and I are the generation of the people they told, oh, things are so much better, and then we watched it unravel. And now the kids like your sister, who's, you know, j- behind us, they're like, this is not good. And so
Mhm.
they're acting, and I stand, and that's one of the reasons why I stand. But yeah, no. So therapy, y'all, try it. Get on Headspace. That's another reason I'm so grateful to have a full-time job because I leverage those benefits. People are
Mm.
not getting benefits. This country is not oh, the
Mm.
medical support that people need, even just like going to the dentist.
We don't get dental as PhD students. You get health, but they don't include dental and but your teeth are part of your body. How? So I had some work done recently, dental wise, and that was out of pocket. Where's the money come from? I don't know, but I paid it.
Dental issues lead to heart disease sometimes.
I believe it.
That's it's science. To not, oh God. Yeah, so for me, the way I worked it out was like, okay, I found myself in the tech world where the benefits are really good. And that's another benefit of being in New York City of okay, like I had to figure out what industries could I be in? How am I going to, what is it going to take for me to support my music career? That's going to have to come from in here.
Mm-hmm.
And I value the resources and the money to support my life over the time that I would have if I were not working. I would have all the time to create, but none of the resources. So I said, okay, there are still 24 hours in the day and you're not working all of them. So you will be tired, but if you have the resources to rehearse, to shoot, to creative direct, if you can take the PTO to tour so you can also still be paid and invest in the touring, because also touring is something that you do at a loss in many cases, even at the highest levels, but it's so integral in sending out your message. The book's got to balance somehow or we'll be on the street. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
our country, our societies aren't supporting artists, but they're also not supporting people who go to school for 12 years
Mm-hmm.
to become specialists in things and still pay them low. Not everybody is going to become a heart surgeon. And even then, it's like, well, what are you like the stress of that? We just
On
had
top of
COVID.
that,
What were we doing for the health professionals during COVID? Just catching more COVID and overwhelming the healthcare,
clapping at 7 p.m.
clapping and
every
making pans.
evening. Yeah.
Yo,
Well,
I,
let's move on to like our. I want to end with a quick, fun, light, rapid fire round of questions, like just fast, fast, fast.
okay, we love fun and we love fast. Okay, here we go.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Okay. What is your astrological big three? Sun, moon, and rising.
Oh, Virgo. Oh gosh, wait. I don't know, but I have co-star. Hang on.
Not gonna open up the app. Co-star, if you want to do like some type of sponsorship, call it at me. Thank you.
Sun in Virgo, Moon in Scorpio, Ascendant in Capricorn. What are the other ones you want to know?
That's the three.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so fun fact, Garth. I also am a Scorpio moon, Virgo
Right.
sun, Scorpio moon. We both share that with Beyonce. She is also a Scorpio moon. So we are both Beyonce.
This sounds perfectly logical to me. I see that.
Yes. Are you an extrovert, introvert, or ambivert?
Ooh, I would say ambivert because I actually have a hard time meeting people I don't know if I don't have like I'll be on the side by myself saying nothing if I don't have a little entry point.
What color have you been drawn to lately?
Yellow?
Okay.
Yeah. Yellow.
So I've seen a lot more orange for you.
Yeah, orange. Yeah, orange
Your
is
new visuals are a lot of orange,
a
but
lot of
yellow makes sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oranges and yellows for sure.
What do you collect?
What do I collect? What do I collect? Oh, like playbills and tickets. So like when I see a show or I see I do have like I usually keep those things. Or like plane tickets of trips that I've taken that have meant a lot to me. I keep those.
What are you reading?
Myself. Oop, no.
Stop.
I'm not reading anything at the moment. I usually joke and tell people I haven't read a book since 1999.
That's
But
fine.
that's only because like I went to school just like y'all, and look, I did a good job at school, and I'm tired. No, but I usually read news. Like I usually read news articles, but it's been a while since I've read like a real book. But my friend Dylan Barron does have a book called Conversations with People Who Hate Me because it's developed from his podcast. So that was probably the last book that I read.
What are you watching?
What am I watching? I'll leave you with this. We can have a conversation on the side. But Beef, I just watched all of Beef.
Oh, I just finished yesterday.
Oh, it was so good. I loved it. I loved it. And then I was watching these people be trash on Love Is Blind.
Facts.
Another fun fact, because I was talking to Carissa about this, because she also shot those orange and yellow visuals when I was in LA. But she's a DP now. She's a director of photography now out in LA, and she was shooting marketing promo with the cast of Love Is Blind. And because I was being messy and shady on Instagram, and she messaged me that she was just with all of them.
That's funny. Oh, I know she got the tea. I know she got some.
Oh yeah, you know, call her up. Well, she's not black, so sorry, Carissa.
Sorry, Carissa. Love you though. Love you, mean it.
Yes.
What are you listening to?
Am I listening to? This goes back to another thing that I was watching, but I was watching SWV and Escape, the Queens of
Yes,
R&B,
of course.
because music and because Candy and because, I love the inside scoop of music. So I added a bunch of Escape songs
Mm,
to my Spotify, and I keep going back to What You Want or Do You Want To? It's the song that
mhm,
Tiny sings, and it's gets a little nasty later, and I'm like, y'all were a little bit too young to be breathing this heavy on the microphone on this song. But the harmonies are so good, and like I love being able to
mhm,
see and hear kind of like that era of R&B, because that's also been really inspirational to me with the music I've made
mm.
that's coming.
I used to be obsessed with their song "My Little Secret," and I was way too young to be singing "You're My Little Secret," and that's how we
Right.
should keep it. But it was a bop.
Right. Yeah.
Mm. Favorite apps?
Favorite apps. Do I have a favorite app? My Chase app, like Chase Banking, so I can see if I'm broke or not. I don't know. I would just say Instagram, because that's where I spend the most time on Instagram, just like looking at garbage. It brings me a lot of joy.
Favorite
Yeah.
website?
Favorite website, YouTube. Same reason.
Ooh, interesting that YouTube is considered a website than an app in your case. I mean, it's
Right.
both, but it's interesting how you
Because
put
I'm
it.
usually looking at YouTube on a computer.
Yeah.
I rarely look at YouTube on my phone.
Who is someone that more people should be following on social media?
Who is someone that more people should be following on social media? Oh no, I don't know. Hang on. Who am I following? You.
Oh, thank you.
They should be
Thank
following
you.
you. They should be following you and me.
Period. At Anuli was
Yeah.
here. At Garth official for
At Garth
everything?
Official, yes, for everything, for almost everything, yeah.
Period.
Um, Otherwise, you know who I love? I love the parking lot. I'm a keep it black. I
Oh,
love
what's her
her.
name? I know who
Lanisha?
Lynette. I thought it was like Lynette.
It
Linnell.
might, yeah, she's
I'm
great.
gonna include her information in the notes for the podcast.
Yeah, and I also love there's a black woman on TikTok who has done If She Was the Black Teacher at Hogwarts.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes.
She is so funny, and she also does like a hotep podcast, like parody, where she pretends to be like, one of these alpha male hotep dudes on a podcast talking about, women being high vibration
Oh
or
gosh.
but she does
Yeah.
a parody of it, and she's
Yeah.
she's
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
really, really funny. So yeah, I love them.
All right. We'll make sure to get both of their handles and include it in the reference page, notes page for the podcast listeners. Thank you so much, Garth, for your time. This has been fun.
Newly, so good to catch up with you. I'm so proud to see what you have done and all of the intersections of academia and art and culture that you've been able to coalesce into this moment. It's just amazing. It's just
Thank
amazing.
you. I appreciate it, especially coming from you because you kind of seen me over the years, and I feel like we are both coming a lot more into ourselves. Like our high school
Yes.
selves would be proud of who we are now.
1000%, because I remember thinking, oh, that you were really quiet, really shy. And I
Everyone
knew,
did.
right. And it's like I knew like who your friends were, who you were hanging out with. So I knew, it's not like I didn't think anything weird about it, but I just, to see you create a platform, and to be out loud and to have different, like, really public facing, really smart, really impactful work, and for that to be, scholar, it's just, yeah, it's really, I am really proud of us, and where we've gone,
Mm,
where we've come, for sure. Thank you for letting
thank
me.
you. Before I jump into my final remarks, I want to make an addendum to the names of the two content creators Garth recommended that everyone follow in his rapid fire question response. The first was Lene Vinay. Lene Vinay is a poet and social media influencer who is known for her IG TV series Parking Lot Pimpin'. She goes by Lene Vinay on Instagram. The second was Mel Mitchell. Mel Mitchell is an Atlanta based comedian who goes by The Baddest Mitch on TikTok. I will include their social media information on the reference page for this episode on the Black in Real Life website, but it was important for me to follow up and make sure we clarified those exact names and their handles so you can follow them and support their work. There are so many points from my conversation with Garth that I could expand on, but I want to draw your attention to three topics in particular that I'll list out now. The first topic I'll speak about is what the genre of rhythm and blues or R&B reveals about Black contemporary life. The second is how the creative process is enriched by collaboration. And my final remarks will be about why it's okay to have a job that supports your creative work. When Garth shared his musical influences, particularly women like Kim Jordan, Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter, and Jasmine Sullivan, I couldn't help but think about the work of acclaimed academic and author Dr. Mark Anthony Neal. Dr. Mark Anthony Neal is the department chair and a distinguished professor of African and African American studies at Duke University. His scholarship largely pays homage to the role of music in Black contemporary life. In his book, Songs in the Key of Black Life, Dr. Neal applies the aesthetic conception of New Blackness to a critique of contemporary rhythm and blues, or what the music industry calls urban contemporary music. The aesthetic conception of New Blackness was first presented by writer, speaker, and activist Alex DeVoe. Dr. Neal explains that the concept of New Blackness embodies a radical fluidity within Blackness that crosses genders, sexualities, generations, religions, ethnicities, and whatever attributes Black people claim as being part of the Blackness they possess. I believe that as an artist, Garth embodies this idea of New Blackness through the fluidity that is reflected in everything from his musical influences to his stage presence and creative direction. Dr. Neal and Alexis DeVoe broached the concept of freedom in a conversation for his own podcast show, Left of Black, in 2016. In that conversation, DeVoe expresses the following statement, and I want you to listen carefully now. Okay, here it goes. I want to live toward an erotics of freedom. That means that I get to just be me. I don't have to be one kind of Black, or one kind of queer, or one kind of female, or one kind of left-handed. Life allows me to be me. And that, I think, is part of our task as Black people, to say who we are, not just resist. We have to resist, yes, but we also have to have the spaces to say who we are and live through those spaces. For artists like Garth, music is that space. In my conversation with Garth, I was also intrigued by the role collaborations play in his creative process. Even though I often talk about operating Black in Real Life as a one-woman show, it doesn't mean that I in any way reject collaboration as integral to the creative process. I love that this project has become a vehicle for me to share my own unique talents and gifts. But for things that I need that may go beyond my personal capacity or that I want to be expressed in a specific way, then I reach out to other creative collaborators like Garth for the show's theme song and Georgia-based illustrator Blk Irl, who I worked with to design a map of Atlanta for season 2. You can find that collaboration on the season 2 section of the Black in Real Life website. Oh, and like Garth, I also pay my collaborators. Shoot, if I had more funding for this project, then I would expand my team and produce even bigger creative concepts that I have in mind. But alas, I do not. So, like Mariah Carey,
I'll do the best I can with what I got. Oh!
But seriously, and back to the matter at hand, Garth's comments on creative collaboration was timely for me to hear because at the time we were talking, I was also listening to Rick Rubin's book called The Creative Act, A Way of Being, which came out earlier this year. I listened to it as an audiobook through one of my favorite apps, Libby, which allows me to borrow audiobooks from my local public library. I highly recommend it, both the book and the app. Rick Rubin is a legendary music producer who has worked with artists such as the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, LL Cool J, and Jay Z. If you're having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. Rick Rubin has 99 problems, and producing a hit track ain't one. I enjoy the Creative Act so much as an audiobook that I actually want to buy the hard copy for my personal library. It is a must read for anyone who wants to tap into their creativity. One section that I'd like to briefly note here is one of the final chapters where Rubin talks about collaboration. He advises that we refrain from looking for creative collaborators who think just like we do and share our exact tastes. This is because, as he writes, healthy tension in collaboration is not uncommon. He believes that if you and your collaborator agree on everything, then one of you may be unnecessary to the project. The emphasis here is on healthy tension, just enough polarity to generate possibilities and paths that you may not have been able to generate on your own. As Rubin notes, in many of the greatest bands, collectives, and collaborations, a degree of polarity between the members was part of the formula for greatness. Prince, who is another one of Garth's musical influences and an artist who also embodies the concept of new blackness, in my opinion, famously worked with a bevy of creative collaborators, muses, and mentees such as Sheila E., Vanity Six, and Janelle Monáe. After Prince died in April 2016, the New York Times published an article featuring remarks on Prince's creative process from the perspectives of several of his longtime friends and collaborators. I will, of course, include the full article in this episode's reference page on the show site, but one of the standout remarks to me was from Cassandra O'Neill, who was a member of Prince's New Power Generation band. Here's what O'Neill shared about collaborating with Prince. It's a long one, so bear with me. Cassandra O'Neill said, and I quote, "He had this gift of being able to see things in people that they didn't see in themselves. He brought out certain things that were already there, but that we hadn't discovered or hadn't tapped into. He taught me to play with a certain amount of dissonance. He was quite funky. It'd be like, wow, that note is so off and it's so wrong that it's right. He created this sound. When we played jazz, it was his version of it. When we played rock, it was his version of it. When we played R&B, it was his version. And it was so unlike anyone else's version that was out. I used to be a very safe player. I'm not as safe as I used to be." End quote. Now, if Prince doesn't represent new blackness by that measure, by that account, then I don't know who does. My final remarks are about why it's okay to have a job that supports your creative work. I hope you did not miss a part of our conversation when Garth revealed that he works full-time in human resources to support his creative work. This is important because self-funding his own music career allows Garth to maintain ownership of his creative works. But as he revealed to us, it literally takes work to make it work. Here, I want to refer back to Rick Rubin's book, where he writes about this very topic. Rubin writes, and I quote, "It's okay to have a job that supports your art habit. Doing both is a better way of keeping the work pure." I want to highlight this part of our conversation because it is easy to glamorize the creative entrepreneur and chastise or criticize those creatives or creative-minded people who choose to work a 9-to-5 job. There is no right or wrong way to go about pursuing a creative life or a creative career. You really have to do the best with the resources you have. To quote Ruben one last time, there are jobs that demand your time but little else. You can protect the art you make by choosing an occupation that gives you mental space to formulate and develop your creative vision of the world. If you have to get a 9 to 5 job to support your creative habit, do what you got to do. Don't let anybody force you into having to be an entrepreneur if that's not what you're trying to do and if that's not what you're able to do with the resources you have. If you want to read any of the books that I've mentioned today, then be sure to visit this episode's reference page on the Black in Real Life website and visit the show's bookstore on bookshop.org. You can get there from the bookshop tab on the Black in Real Life website at www.blkirl.com. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode. Remember, episodes are released bi-weekly or every other week when the show is in season. Thank you. I am Anuli Akanebu, and you have just listened to an episode of the Black in Real Life podcast. The program today was produced, edited, and hosted by Anuli Akanebu, with additional support from Anuli Akanebu. Many thanks to Garth, whose song Wild serves as the official theme song of the Black in Real Life podcast. Season 3 mashes up Wild with the song If I Ruled the World, Imagine That by Nas featuring Miss Lauryn Hill. For all things Black in Real Life, visit www.blkirl.com. And remember, as always, the people you follow online are also Black in real life.